man, Drizzy. I do. Last time the girls were like, I was all snapping that
discovered in
ass.
1945 by Muhammad Ali. Also books that were unearthed within the Qumran community as many fight to shield the truth and try to keep it from you and me. Ancient secrets that were first toppled on an Egyptian plateau that would one day find themselves underneath Rennes chateau. Knowledge once buried, info carried from Solomon's temple. Stories vary, some of them scary, but all of them simple. Look into my eyes, there's no surprise that I've got a slight temper towards the lies in disguise of the modern day Knights Templar. Realize from the size of the recognized architecture that the wise have hidden lies that can hypnotize and spark a lecture. I don't need to preach, but to teach that each founding father, dream and prophecy and demonocracy should have been drowned in water. From King George VI passing his town and crown to his daughter, as many climate degrees drop her to their knees, bowing down to her garter. How many times, how many rhymes, how many crimes need to be committed till you'll admit that they were behind it? Don't be blinded or narrow-minded. Become one of the Pharaoh kind kids, exposing Freemasons from America's commander-in-chief. The Nova Scotia's Alexander Keith, like Captain Morgan, the panhandler and thief. So what's more important than a Mayan calendar belief? Exposing Freemasons from America's commander-in-chief. The Nova Scotia's Alexander Keith, like Captain Morgan, the panhandler and thief. So what's more important than a Mayan calendar belief? You better make sure that the laces of your Pumas are tight, cause if the rumors are right, then Loomis and Knight have got the baby boomer consumers in fright with their continuous bright, luminous light. You better make sure that the laces of your Pumas are tight, cause if the rumors are right, then Loomis and Knight have got the baby boomer consumers in fright with their continuous bright, luminous light. I get an actual pleasure exposing Disney's national treasure. Somebody pinch me. Everybody's trying to decipher the code of Da Vinci. Sacred geometry, math that you measure. Hard technology is some laugh at the weather. From their chapters and their lodges, men act as if they know who God is. They're the hidden hand, take a forbidden land, never giving a damn if you sit or stand, they spit on man. How many times, how many rhymes, how many crimes need to be committed till you'll admit that they were behind it? Don't be blinded or narrow-minded. Become one of the Pharaoh kind kids, exposing Freemasons from America's commander-in-chief. The Nova Scotia's Alexander Keith, like Captain Morgan, the panhandler and thief. So what's more important than a Mayan calendar belief? Exposing Freemasons from America's commander-in-chief. The Nova Scotia's Alexander Keith, like Captain Morgan, the panhandler and thief. So what's more important than a Mayan calendar belief? They brought Cleopatra's needles to the real axis of evil. Rebuilt St. Paul's Cathedral to become Jerusalem's equal. In times of medieval great minds that are deceitful grapevines that are more lethal than hate crimes upon the people. Like the often forgotten cards of Akhenaten's guards. There's no stopping these topics that are dropping like shotgun shards. Directed towards the so-called prophets of Scotland Yard, who taught me the art to buy and locking charts and filling their shopping carts. Come on, we've all seen the surface disguised as greedy merchants, erecting the obelisk penis perfect so they could feed us worship. Never really releasing their grip, as Miss Liberty's allowed to introduce her whip and reinterpret his story into pure shit. There is a list of men from Francis Bacon to Christopher Wren, and since I can no longer put my fist into them, I choose to get pissed with the pen. Now tell me, have y'all been listening?
I was born to be a hero.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Derek in the Midwest, and I'm back here hosting another episode of In Search of the Truth at slimswazy.com. You can catch me here every Sunday and Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll be going over the news, and so you'll get updated on what's been going on in the news cycle. I break down and analyze the stories as I go through them, and I also do exposés on certain topics that are, well, I guess not covered nearly enough, and some things that just don't really get covered at all, or at least to a certain degree. And tonight I will be covering one of those topics, which has been a topic of has been coming up quite often. This topic of false patriots in the movement, the so-called truth movement, and I actually look at it as more of an in search of the truth movement. I don't consider it the truth movement because of what the term truth movement implies, and I don't really, I don't believe that there's necessarily the truth, or at least I don't necessarily believe that to the grand scheme of things, we're necessarily always going to find the truth. And I think that once you get trapped in that idea of, you're like, it's kind of like the term woken up. I don't like that term either, because then you think, oh, I'm woken up, I'm awake, and you're not. because I know about the New World Order, I understand what that term means, and I have a little bit of a grasp of the power structure. I'm awake and you're not. Well, that's just, it's demeaning to the people who are considered not awake yet, and it gives it breeds too much, I think, arrogance among the people who are quote unquote awake. Don't get me wrong, I think it's fitting enough. I just think that in society it's not necessarily the greatest way to refer to it. I don't really mind it so much, so long as the people who are quote unquote awake are willing to do their due diligence and continue to wake up the people who are not awake, quote unquote. And that is where, well, people like me come in. Because there are many levels of being, quote unquote, awake. There's, knowledge of the New World Order and all of that stuff. There's like the base level, understanding that there's a world government being constructed right now by a group of people behind the scenes who are pulling the strings in all the major key events that shape the course of the world. Now, that is a pretty broad general understanding of what's going on, and somebody who understands that would be overall considered to be awake. They know about the New World Order, and they know about things like the Bilderberg Group and the CFR, and a few other things. So okay, but then there's awake to the degree where you can't just rely on other sources. You have to look into these sources and see what their sources are, and see if what they're saying, number one, is true, number two, makes sense if it is true. And so a lot of journalists out there, so-called journalists, don't do enough of this. They don't do enough of source checking or analyzing things, and really making sure that you can pinpoint the chain of information and go back to the original source document or the original statement by whoever said it, and things like that. So one of these people who's out there is Alex Jones, and I have a bunch of videos detailing the many flaws in Alex Jones's reporting and the fact that he promotes fear and anger on a regular basis. And by regular basis, I mean every single show he does. Check out youtube.com/Derek in the Midwest, and you can see a bunch of videos going through the fallacies and the omissions and the just absolutely silly behavior of Alex Jones that makes truthers look just absolutely silly and absurd. And I'll be getting into Mr. Alex Jones a little bit later in this program. But before I do that, I'm going to get into the news, and this is interesting. This literally just hit the news. This was posted not even an hour ago. This is posted like, half an hour ago. This is from CNN, U.S. News, headline, 4 police officers shot dead at Detroit police station. 4 police officers were shot dead at a Detroit police precinct on Sunday afternoon, but all are expected to survive, the city's police chief said Sunday. The most seriously injured officer, he was shot in the lower back, emerged from surgery Sunday evening, Detroit Police Chief Ralph Godbee said. A person who police identified as the shooter was shot dead, Godbee said at a Sunday evening press conference. In addition to the officer shot in the back, who was a commander, Godbee said a female sergeant was shot in the chest but was protected by a bulletproof vest. 2 male officers were grazed in the head but are conscious, alert, and talking, he said. Quote, "We are very relieved that it appears that all of our officers are going to be okay," Godbee said. He updated earlier reports that 3 officers had been shot. He said the identities of the wounded officers are being withheld until their families are notified. Police have identified the shooter, Godbee said, but are withholding the person's name as they conduct an investigation of the incident. The officers were transported to Detroit Sinai Grace Hospital, according to State Police Sergeant Keon Whitfield. The shooting occurred at the Detroit Police Department's 6th Precinct Station, according to Michigan State Police Sergeant Gerald Badgett. The station is on the city's west side. Not really sure why that is super important. That's interesting. Here we are. Here's a shooting at a police station in Detroit. Why did this happen? I have absolutely no clue. All I know is it happened. That's all we have at this point. This is CNN.com. If anybody's out there, you want to check ABC, CBS, Fox News, MSNBC, get the lowdown on what's going on. This does have a couple links to some other channels for further coverage on this news. And this link doesn't even go to a video. It goes to, okay. Let's see here. Alright, this is another article on the incident. This is off of WXYZ.com, which is ABC7 Action News. Detroit. 4 Detroit police officers were shot inside the Northwest District headquarters. The district office is located near Warwick and Plymouth and houses both the 6th and 8th precincts. We're told a man walked into the lobby and opened fire with a shotgun during roll call at about 4:30 p.m. He was killed by police. The injured officers were rushed to Detroit Sinai Grace Hospital. One of the officers is a commander, one is a patrolman, another is a clerk, and the fourth is a lean officer. Detroit Police Chief Ralph Godby has asked that their names not be shared until family members can be notified. During a press conference held at 7 p.m., after 7 p.m., Chief Godby updated reporters on the conditions of the officers. "We are very relieved. It appears that all their officers are going to be okay," Chief Godby said. He also said the procedures are being reviewed in hopes of preventing something like this from happening again. Police say a gunman walked into the station just as any citizen can do. They say the shooter walked past the desk and fired down a hallway, hitting a female sergeant in the chest. She was reportedly wearing a bulletproof vest and should be okay. The gunman then shot a second officer in the side of the face and neck. A precinct commander then grabbed the wounded sergeant's gun and exchanged shots with the gunman. The commander was then shot in the back. The gunman then jumped over a counter to attempt to shoot more officers. At that point, other officers opened fire, killing him. A camera inside the precinct captured images of the shooting, and sources who have seen the video say it is graphic. Sunday evening, police familiar with the Northwest District offices said there is no bulletproof glass that separates officers and desk staff from those visiting the precinct. They said a high desk and low seating behind it hinders officers from having a full view of those entering the police station. Well, that's got to be good for security. Good Lord. All right, now. The first thing that this brings to mind, this article specifically, is that in this article here, there are specific things mentioned, such as where the officers were hit and other things. I mean, granted, it doesn't get into super specific detail, but this is only, hours after the incident, and this was posted. Oh, this was last updated 7 minutes ago. So this is breaking right here. This is probably the most current article out there on this story, and here we're getting it's what, hours after the incident, not like only a few, not even like a long period of hours, but a short period of hours, and we're already getting a better breakdown of this incident than we got after a week or 2 full weeks of the incident involving Gabriel Giffords and Judge John Roll. And I'll be getting into that later. Actually, I have some articles that are going to lead to that coming back up again. So that's quite interesting. And how did this incident happen? What exactly was it? I'm not sure. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. I can say that I wouldn't be all that surprised to see it come out, them try to use this to demonize, he was, some kind of truther or this or that. But, I mean, he ran up in a police station. He didn't run up into some other, legislative type government building. This, as far as I can tell, looks to be most likely a genuine, crime of somebody who had some sort of anger, beef, either with the police department in general or, somebody involved with that specific organization or department, I would think. So we'll just have to wait and see basically what the news gives us, and see what comes off off the wire as this thing progresses. And during the breaks, what I'll do is during the show, I'll check and I will see if there are any updates to this incident. And if there are, come the end of the show, I will try to get back to this story, and if there are updates that are of value,